Welcome to our next episode of Manrina's Mentorship podcast. I'm very excited to have Ricky here with me today, Dr. Ricky Ghataura.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to hear your story.
Oh, what would you like to hear first?
I think we should start at the beginning.
Okay.
So tell me about why dentistry.
Okay, so that was it was meant to be medicine.
Oh.
So I was at school. Didn't really love school. It was all okay. Worked
Where did you go to school?
in my house in Slough.
Okay.
So I went to a convent school.
Oh.
It was a grammar school. It was good fun. Just all girls school.
Yeah.
So I loved being there. It was we were all a bit crazy, but also you know what it's like when you have all girls around.
Yeah.
So I ended up not doing so well in my A levels because my granddad passed away and my cousin got diagnosed with cancer and died literally before my exams. So I didn't do so well, but because we were really close, so that really affected me.
Wow.
But anyway, so then I ended up redoing one of the A levels.
Did you have your offers for medicine?
I didn't. I was going to apply for medicine, but then I decided I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do medicine because my dad's a doctor.
Yeah.
So he wanted me to do medicine, but I'm not sure it was entirely what I would have loved to do. I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to be doing something with biology. I loved learning about biology, but you know, I thought I'd just end up crying if I ended up having someone that I had to tell some bad news to because I was too empathic. And then I ended up taking some time out and thought, okay, well, dentistry is quite a good career. Ended up doing dentistry, I did a BSc first though because I was still trying to decide what I wanted to do.
Oh wow, what was your BSc in?
A BSc in biomedical sciences.
Ooh.
So I did that at King's. And then I decided I'm going to do dentistry, got into guys. I was obviously an older student then. So although I was partying and enjoying dentistry, it was more like, I need to finish.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy dentistry and I met some really good friends. I've still got my best friend that I met on the first day. We're still together.
Mine too.
Yeah. That connection when you sit down, the first person you sit down next to, hi, I'm so and so. And it was a really nice group that we had. And obviously did the dentistry, ended up being into some of the committees, ended up becoming student president, which I was quite shocked about, but really nice
did you run for it? Did you decide you wanted to be student president?
I wasn't going to, but a lot of my friends said go for it. So I did that.
Nice.
I also started like the school magazine. I don't know if you remember, but I started the Dental Probe.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up interviewing some of the teachers, lecturers, and doing a little bit on them.
What years were you at Guys?
96 to 2001.
So same time as me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was there 97 to 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So I was a year above.
Yeah.
So I ended up starting the Dental Probe, which was the dental magazine first. I remember we used to write it all out.
Yeah.
I actually made it by hand, and then we used to photocopy it.
Wow.
Then I started the sweatshirts. I don't know if you remember the hoodies and the sweatshirts, the embroidered ones.
Wow.
So I started those.
Wow.
Because those weren't available to anybody, and I thought we need to have that.
We need hoodies,
So
yeah.
we need to have those. And it was really interesting because I was coming back from a flight once and somebody was wearing the hoodie in front of me.
Oh,
so I
and
stopped
you're like, you
and I
did
said,
that.
I started those.
That's cool.
And then I got student president, which was really good because I got to meet some people from other universities, and we did like the blind date and lots of these kinds of things where we had functions and the Bollywood or Hollywood, the catwalks and all the kind of shows that we did together. So that was really interesting. And then qualified, thinking, right, I need to be getting married now because I'm obviously much older. Had my VT, and that was okay. It was in Staines area. Don't think I was really enthused by it all by then, so I don't know what it was. I think it was a big shock, isn't it, when you kind of go to dental school and you're told you can do anything and do whatever is right for the patient, and then you end up going into an NHS practice where you're ending up, you can do this, you can't do this, you can do this and you can't do that. And I think that was quite a bit of a shock to feeling like you've come from somewhere where you can do anything you want and now you're restricted in what you can provide because of all the other limitations around the practice. So I think that kind of made me feel like that's not quite what I wanted to do. But by then I was thinking about getting married.
How did you meet your partner?
We met at a function and we started chatting, and then we went out, And then I think we started thinking about getting married about 4 months later.
Wow.
And we're married 8 months later.
Wow. And still together.
And still together.
Wow.
22 years on.
Yeah. That is proper love at first sight when you know vibes.
Yes, I think it was definitely, well, this is the person I want to be with. Yeah. And it was really interesting because I was sending, and in those days we didn't have so many phones and text messages and stuff. So I was emailing him once before we'd really gone out on a proper date. And my mum was saying to me, who are you emailing? And I was like, I'm emailing my future husband. And she said, are you being serious? And I said, yeah. You were. I'm going to marry him one day.
Wow.
And it happened. Yeah.
Wow. What does he do?
He's a histopathologist.
Oh.
And he was a plastic surgeon.
Wow.
So he had an accident and had to change careers.
Wow.
Doing histopathology. So basically he looks down the microscope, diagnoses cancer.
Wow.
And he cuts up people who've died, unfortunately, and then works out why they died.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a cool job.
It's a very cool job.
Sounds like a cool guy.
Yes, very, very clever. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
But obviously it does, he sees a lot of what happens at the end.
Yeah.
And I suppose it helps him to appreciate life and what's going on and what we have.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah. So met
married
him 8 months later.
Married him, moved to Birmingham from the south.
Really? Oh, wow.
Birmingham for a year because he was finishing his exams. And then we moved back down south because I ended up finding out I was pregnant.
Oh.
Wanted to move nearer to my parents.
Yes.
And then we found a house, moved in, had my daughter. Took 2 years out of work because I wanted to look after her. And we decided that if we could afford to, we wanted to not have her looked after by nannies and everybody else. We wanted to be at home to look after her.
Yeah.
Which was really nice and very special because not everyone has that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I went back to work, did a bit of locums here and there and a few jobs. And then I ended up having my second one.
And do you think part of that was that you'd fallen a bit out of love with dentistry during VT?
Yes, I think so. I think I wasn't feeling like I'd found my passion of what it was that really drove me or what really enthused me. And I was really initially when I did, was in Birmingham before I was pregnant. I was starting to feel like, I'm going to do this. Was going on lots of courses, and then I think when I had my little one, I wanted to just spend time with her. And then dentistry was kind of like the back.
And do you think after doing biomedical science, like going through so much effort to get into dentistry, like what was that about? How did you realize that dentistry was something that you wanted to do back then? Or do you think that was still your parents, like your dad was a doctor? Like how did that come about to make so much effort to then go through a 5-year degree? Like you did a 3-year degree and then a 5-year degree, right?
Yes. I think I was just really always wanted to be with people. I knew I had to help people and work with people. So I loved that. I love being creative.
Yeah.
So I think dentistry kind
Seemed
of
like
combines
the right thing.
the fact that you're science-based, you're helping people, but you're also being creative at the same time, and you're not having to go such a hard career of doing medicine where hours are really, really difficult. And I knew I wanted to have a family.
Yeah.
I wanted to be there for them.
Yeah.
And raise children. So it was kind of the most ideal career.
Yeah, so this is all very like the life that we write for ourselves when we're a child, right? We're like, I'm going as an Indian woman, and I'm sorry to generalize, but you kind of say, I'm going to become a dentist, I'm going to marry a doctor, we're going to get married in our 20s, we're going to have 2 kids, and we're going to buy a house, and I'm going to stop working for a while and bring up my kids, right? So your story so far is that
it was
you were living the dream.
It wasn't actually.
No,
not at all.
It sounds like
I know it sounds like it wasn't actually. Okay. The fact that I didn't get in a first time round, I ended up having to do a degree before I got into medicine. That's not quite the plan. It wasn't the plan, and in fact, actually, I would have written that plan. I did have a plan.
Yes,
but actually, life taught me that things don't go to plan at all, and from quite an early on age. Yeah. So from
with the A-levels, like that was amazing that all those things happened and you had to do your exams at that young age.
Exactly. And that really affects you. And then you think, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to be done medicine by the age of 25. I'll get married at this age. And you do have a plan in your mind. But actually, it didn't turn out like that at all. I ended up doing 1 degree, then going into a 2nd degree, doing dentistry. Not quite what I had originally planned. And then I didn't actually get married till I was 30.
Oh, well, 30!
So really, like, no, in my plan was to be married by 25 and everything, but I didn't actually manage to find anybody till much later.
Yeah.
And then having children
in your 30s.
In my 30s.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different. It wasn't quite what I had planned, but you do go with the flow.
Yeah.
I hadn't found what I thought was my niche in my career either.
Yeah.
So and I'm still trying to figure that out now.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I think life has taught me that actually it won't go to plan, and you do have to steer and adapt and veer to things, and you might still be finding things in your 50s that aren't going to enthuse you.
Yeah.
And that's okay as well.
So how long did you take off from your profession, kind of like just locuming or not working in as a dentist, 3 or more days a week? How long were you off for?
I'd say in the total from qualifying to now, it would have been about, say, 10 years.
You took 10 years off?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so 2.5 years initially, and then 5 years when I had my second child, and then 1 and a bit years, or 1 year when I hurt my foot and things like that. So yeah, so 10 years.
Okay.
So I still feel I'm quite young.
yeah, exactly.
And that's really why I haven't found my niche.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's cool. So then kids went to school and you were like, right, time to go back to dentistry and
time to go back.
What it is I love. And so how did you go about trying to work that out? Like what part of dentistry where you could find your passion?
So I originally went back to, I did my master's in between that.
Okay.
Because I was thinking, well, if I need to go back, I feel like I've forgotten things, I want to go and do my master's.
What was your master's in?
Aesthetic and restorative dentistry. So
Amazing.
I did that at University of Manchester whilst my daughter was doing
So you're all BSc, BDS, MSc.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was whilst my daughter was doing her 11 plus, which is a real stress anyway. And then I was studying, she was studying, giving up weekends. Anyway, managed to get my degree, which was great.
Amazing.
And then
your third degree.
My third degree. And then, so I went back to work. I luckily ended up going back to work at my VT practice. They asked me to come back. And I was just doing general dentistry then. So I think I was allowing myself time to figure out what it was that I really wanted to do and the way I wanted to work. And I think the other thing that life has taught me, that actually it is important to work out what it is that you do want to do, as opposed to just go into a place of work, especially as an associate, and say, right, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do. You do have to do that to some extent, but actually I think it's nice to work out which way and what your values are and what you would like to be doing eventually. Yeah. So you can then steer the conversation that I'd like to do this, I'm really good at this, and this is what I'd like to be doing more of, as opposed to this. If you've got the facility and your principals willing to do that.
And that happens with age or maturity or time, that you can hone that in and understand what that is. I think it takes a minute, doesn't it?
Yes, that takes time. So that's, I think, valuable to learn, that if that is something that you want to do, then you start doing that from an earlier on stage. So you are becoming more of a niched dentist as opposed to just generalized. So at that time, it was, for me, I'm going to do a bit of everything and just see what it is that I really love.
But there was some pull towards aesthetic and restorative for you to choose that MSc.
Yes, definitely. I love the cosmetic stuff.
Yeah.
I love to be able to, it was constantly, as I'm sure you are, when you're looking at someone, oh, that's a bit asymmetrical, we need to just do this. You're always kind of mentally doing the treatment plan, aren't you, in your mind?
Yeah. Definitely.
This is slightly, so that's something that I always love to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I did the MSc. Yeah. And then another shift happened in life, which threw me off the kilter, in a sense, which was when I ended up losing my job during COVID, and then the whole stress of it causing me to break my foot. And breaking my Achilles tendon, being at home, not being able to walk for 6 months, and then having to learn to walk again. So that was another light bulb moment, which was then to steer me to somewhere else. Yeah.
Where did it steer you?
So I think when you get to obviously when that happened, you question everything in life.
And I think everyone questioned a lot in COVID anyway. Yes. And you had then that extra that you were also not as mobile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So a question like, what am I doing here?
Definitely.
Is this where I really want to be? What's my life purpose? Why am I in this situation, and then you realize actually I reframed it as a time for me to really think about what I wanted to do in life and what was really of value to me and where I wanted to be. And then it led me into thinking about coaching and talking to people and talking to women and because I had some coaching sessions and NLP sessions, which is neuro-linguistic programming sessions, to kind of help me to get back to going to work.
What does it do, neuro-linguistic programming? How does it all work?
So neuro-linguistic programming is a way of looking at how your brain functions, the words you speak to yourself, and the patterns that you have that will then affect your behavior and your emotions and how you feel about life, basically.
Okay.
So it's a mindset change.
Okay.
It's a bit like, I suppose, you use it in CBCT, use it in coaching, and at that moment and that time when obviously you're questioning everything about your life and questioning about what's going on in your mind, in your head, and where you're headed, it was kind of perfect for me to kind of understand that and go through that and reframe lots of what happened in my life to what was where I wanted to be.
Amazing.
So,
and I see a lot of posts on social media from you about these things. So have you evolved your career to include neuro-linguistic programming?
Yes.
Are you a coach in
yes.
it?
So I'm a life coach. Then
Yes.
I did, during that time afterwards, I did life coaching and NLP and learned it, and I'm certified
Amazing.
to do that.
Another qualification.
Another qualification. And I also went into the spiritual things. So I went into Reiki healing.
Wow.
Which I do, and learning about all the things spiritual. When, those questions that I had, why am I here? What am I doing here? What would I like to leave my mark as in life? Led me onto the spiritual realm of learning why we're here and what it is that I need to do for myself and for others, and how I can be of help and service.
So if people are feeling that and asking themselves that question, do you go on a journey with them to help them understand what their purpose might be in life?
Yes, well, whatever it is in coaching, it's whatever you want to talk about. So every session is different, and everything that comes up, things will evolve, some things will be said, some that people, as they're talking, things will be mentioned or words used that they don't really know that they've said it, but then they'll go back and analyze it and question why they said what they did and uncover what's coming up.
Amazing.
So every session is different, but also, like I said, I did NLP and coaching for myself initially to kind of understand myself better. And as I did it, I was thinking, well, actually, we all need it. At some point in our life, we all need to kind of have some talking about what's going on in our mind, what we want to do in our life, where do we want to go, and we always need a bit of help.
Has it changed your parenting style?
For definite.
That's nice for your kids.
Yes.
And they've got this mom who's so self-aware.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's changed completely, and I think that's one of the reasons why I did do it. Was because I felt that I wanted to become a better mother, not to be one that's always shouting and getting angry and getting stressed.
That typical mum.
The typical mum, and I am completely different to what I thought I would be.
Yeah.
So I'm a lot more relaxed. I'll speak to them, I'll ask them about their emotions, try and talk to them about what's going on. I'm letting them grow, and I think it's also a cultural thing. And I'm not sure if you know about, or if you think the same, but as growing up in an Indian culture, we have a lot of I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but a lot of not pressure, but a lot of influence from our parents as to what needs to be done, how we're meant to be, what we should do as a career. We were going to a wedding last week, and I was like, I want to wear this dress, but my mom said I can't wear it, so I can't wear that dress. And my partner was like, but you know that you can, Manrina. You don't have to listen to your mum. And I was like, but I can't. Because actually that's how we're brought up. I would feel so uncomfortable wearing something that my mum didn't want me to wear, that it wouldn't even be worth me wanting to wear it. So exactly.
There's definitely a certain amount of programming.
Exactly. A lot of programming. And we need to change that, because we need to change our mindset and completely change our beliefs and what we would like to do.
So you're saying I should have worn the dress. You
should have worn the dress if you felt comfortable to do so. Yeah. So I've become a very different parent, I think. And I'm quite glad, because that will mean that my children will grow up in a completely different manner. And I feel that, I don't know about if you were the same, but when we were growing up, we weren't allowed to share so much with our parents. We didn't tell them everything that was going on in our life, our emotions, what was going on at work, school. I mean, we shared some, but the deep depths of it, we didn't share so much. Whereas I think with my children now, they can share things that have gone wrong, things that they want to change, and they will talk a lot more. And I want them to be able to grow and feel that they can become their full selves at a younger age, as opposed to having any issues as they get older.
Yeah, I was actually encouraged to share everything and not victimized for it, which is why I'm so open now as an adult.
Yeah,
because
as
a child, if I was going out, my dad would be like, doesn't matter, 3-4 in the morning, doesn't matter if you're drunk somewhere, doesn't matter what you're doing. If you call me, I'm going to come and I'm not going to say anything to you. So you're always safe and you can always call us. So we didn't keep, I told them about boyfriends or wherever I was going on. There was never a moment in time that my parents didn't know where I was, which was a really safe way for me to be.
Yes, exactly.
But so many of my friends weren't like that and weren't able to share because they were scared about repercussions.
Exactly. And that's amazing that you had that. And
I think it's really made me feel a more confident, whole human being as an adult.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I'd love my children to be like.
Yeah.
And not to say that I didn't get to tell my parents, but there was something.
There's definitely an Indian thing there sometimes about boyfriends or drinking or staying out late or I don't know.
it does evolve as you get older, but obviously when they're younger.
Yeah.
And similarly, like my mum definitely still says it about my daughter, like, don't let her out so much and don't let her drink so much. And I'm like, it's okay, Mum. Okay. She's my daughter. Okay. I know what she's doing.
See, you stand up to your mum. That's what I need to learn from you. So amazing. So interesting. So neuro-linguistic programming, back to dentistry. And then you came on my Designing Smiles course, and that's where I really got to know you.
Yes.
When you came to do that. But that was a while ago, maybe 2021?
Yes.
I feel like.
Yes, it was quite some time ago.
COVID.
I feel like I need a refresher.
So maybe it was that time, I think, when you broke your foot.
Yes.
And then you were looking for a new job. And you were like, what do I want to do? I like aesthetics. I've done my MSc. Let me go in a bit more in depth in veneers. And I think it's so interesting how many people who have done aesthetic or restorative MSCs then come on my veneer course, because although I think you're taught a lot of the principles, there maybe not so much the practical kind of experience or the day-to-day issues that you have to deal with.
Yes.
And was that useful for you? Were you doing more veneer cases having done that?
It was really useful. It was great to see the whole process and see the kind of like the patient attending and to the final bit of actually leaving with the veneers on, which was really, really good. And obviously it was nice that it was quite short. So you obviously saw it in not like over weeks. That was really, very good. And the outcome was amazing. So no, I didn't get to do as many, but I don't know whether that's because I still feel a little bit apprehensive.
I must support you in that.
Whether it's because I just haven't found the right cases.
But there are many cases. It's the apprehension.
It's the apprehension.
So maybe you need to neuro-linguistically reprogram yourself.
Yes, I do. I have been doing that. I've been saying there's loads of patients coming my way.
Yes. Okay, cool. So maybe leading on to the mentorship, because obviously you're one of my mentees and that's why we have you here today. So within the mentorship program, I'd love to support you more with these cases when someone comes in and they want their smile to look better. If you chucked photos up on the group and we could have a look, and maybe there's veneer cases that we could pick up, that I could pick up for you.
Yes.
And be like, maybe we could give, so maybe we could do more of that.
We could do that, yes. Yeah. I think also it depends on the areas as well, isn't it? Where you're working. Do you not think so? No. Okay.
I think there's people everywhere that want great smiles. I always tell the story about when I graduated and then I was working at Lundosler, and Surinder said at the time, you need to go and work at the NHS, because when you're newly graduated, it's not really ideal to go from VT straight to private practice. You kind of need a little bit of time in the NHS, seeing those 50 patients a day, get your hands moving and prep all those crowns. So I went to work in an NHS practice in Bexley Heath, which isn't an affluent area, or it certainly wasn't back then, 23 years ago. And I remember, because of how I'd been trained at Lundosler, I was talking to patients the same way at this NHS practice in Bexley Heath. And I remember one patient, I sold her like a full mouth veneer case, 28 grand treatment plan. And my principal in Bexley Heath was like, who are you? And it was just the fact that the dentists weren't talking to these patients about these treatments, but I was, and then they were going for them. So I was doing a lot of cosmetic work then in that NHS practice in a rundown area. So that's my proof.
So that's
that
what
you
I
can
need to
do
be doing.
it.
Yes, I'm
yeah,
going to be doing
changing
it.
the mindset.
I'm going to be doing it.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Definitely, that's what I need to work on.
But has there been a benefit for you being in the mentorship program?
I think it's been loads of benefit for definite. There's lots of things. It's not just the clinical, which is really good. And you're obviously pushing us to do more on the posting and the LinkedIn and other things that
Personal
we're learning. Personal brand building. Also looking at cases with each other. That's really helpful because we learn a lot from that. Even just little things like, what would you use for this? And yes, the other day you talking about the BioClear. That's all good that we're all picking up things from each other. And also having these experiences and talking about machines and what's the best intraoral scans. It's a lot that we're picking up from each other.
Yeah, nice to have the support network and someone to chat about these geek things that.
Yes, exactly.
Like when I got excited about BioClear. People that can get excited with you.
Yes, and it's nice to have a small group, I think, of people of like-minded people that are there to help and support each other. Yeah. So that's really good. Good. And also, helped me to get my article out in the Dentistry magazine, which is amazing.
Yes, how exciting.
I know,
so yeah, I'm really keen for all of you guys in my mentorship to get published, and I'm so glad that you came forward and said, right, that was like you being like, right, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
And you wrote your article on neurolinguistic programming.
Yes.
And it's out now in dentistry.co.uk or in the Dentistry magazine or online.
Dentistry.co.uk.
Which is perfect because you can share it on all your platforms for everyone to read.
Yes.
So that's amazing. What do you talk about in the article?
It's a bit of everything. So just how can you help yourself as a dentist to kind of overcome burnout, imposter syndrome, reframing, just feeling a bit tired, a bit fed up.
That's everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Burnout, imposter syndrome.
Exactly. A bit of everything. So I've just done it. Well, the first article is just a bit kind of a generalization about everything, including breath work, reframing, meditation, future pacing, and all these techniques that you can learn in NLP. So I've talked a little bit about that, but I think hopefully I want to do a little series about lots more stuff about how we can reframe our minds.
So if they want to read it, our listeners want to read it, what's the article called, or how would they find it? They can go on dentistry.co.uk and put your name in it, Dr Ricky Ghataura.
Yes.
And what was the title of the article?
It's good. How can NLP help dentists?
There you go.
But I will put a link out and give you the link and you can attach it.
Yeah, we can add it. We'll add it to the podcast.
Yes.
So that you guys can have a read of that.
Thank you.
Okay, so now what? So now you've got your NLP qualification. You've done your MSc. You've done your veneer course with me. You're part of my mentorship program. So you kind of got this aesthetic dentistry, cosmetic dentistry background and extra learning knowledge, as well as your NLP qualification. So what are we doing with all this now? What's the plan? Have you found your purpose? Are we still on that journey looking for your purpose or your passion in your career? I
think the passion is definitely more trying to focus on just aesthetics and cosmetics and trying to just niche into that.
Yes.
So finding the right place that I can do that.
Yes.
And honing that in. So I'm just trying to let go of everything else and trying to just work on that.
So is that an associate position, or is there potentially a practice? If you can't find the position that does that for you, would you create it by building your own clinic?
I think I have been thinking about it. I have a little way to go to do that, but yes, I have had the dreams and the vision of what I'd like it to be like.
Yes, and I'd love to support you in that.
Let's see how we go with that. With the NLP, I'm trying to get into a lot more of the communities to try and help women. I'm trying to write a program for a couple of weeks that will help anybody that wants to come on.
Wow.
And do a kind of 5-week program to help them with their mindset.
And is it for female dentists or just women in general?
I'd like to niche for female dentists, but obviously it would apply to anybody and everybody. The techniques are all the same. And I'm also trying to look at how I could help dentists to be and help them with their mindset before they leave university. Because I think that once we've got that well established, when you get into the workplace, that's really going to help you.
Yes.
So I think that's a little place that I'd like to be too.
Yeah, amazing. So lots of exciting things coming, and clear vision for where what's happening, and this kind of extra business outside of clinical dentistry.
Yes,
It's on its way.
for definite.
It's exciting. So we need to watch this space, and if they want to know more about what it is that you're creating and how they can learn from you or work with you, you've got social media accounts specifically.
Yes, I've got a few. I've got my Dr Ricky Ghataura Instagram page, Ricky G Coaching page, which is on Instagram, and I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Amazing. So maybe coming towards the end of wrapping up this journey that you've had, and this, you know, all the exciting things that are still to come, and that whole you're very much an embodiment of I don't want to say reinventing yourself, but like all these different sections in your life.
Yeah.
You've done so many things, you've so many qualifications, and you're very good at a lot of things by the sounds of it.
I think it just shows that we are interested in lots of things, aren't we? As people, we like to learn, and you don't have to be just learning one thing. There's lots of different parts of you that you need to maybe nurture and nourish. And a lot of people do think, well, what's in dentistry got to do with NLP? But you're just feeding your passion for learning.
There's a way to combine whatever it is that you love. And so normally I would end this with, can you give one piece of advice to our listeners? And maybe that's it. But would you like to vocalize that, or whatever the one bit of advice is you'd like to share?
The one bit of advice would be that, I think that is that we actually do have lots of different parts of ourselves. And it is important to nourish and explore all of those. And whether that's when you do it as soon as you qualify, or as your journey progresses.
And that's okay.
That's all okay.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed
so much
talking
for
to
having
you.
me.
And
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing more of what you're creating, because I think it's a really exciting time for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.